dressed like my mother, ready to go to the beach.
He looks good. You know what he is? Sexy and he knows it.
He's sexy and he knows it.
Who's going to start this one? We will see here. Whoever does win this match is going to make top 8, so this should be fun, as Boswell will begin with a Temple Garden. A Temple of Silence here from Friedman. Take a look at the top card. We'll consult the grip. Ben playing the deck that he basically lost in the finals to Tom Ross with Season 2 Invitational. He's been playing this for a while. Boswell's been playing green-white aggro for a while, so two players very familiar with their decks.
And yes, Voice of Resurgence, a card that hasn't seen a lot of play recently, but very good, and particularly in this matchup, very good.
Seems okay. Seems okay. Devour Flushes over there, I imagine, here for Ben.
Doesn't look like he has any main deck. Kind of similar. Oh, yeah, his 4 copies. Yeah, 4 copies of Devour Flush. Kind of similar, a little different from the deck that we saw on camera turn before, around before with Shields, yeah. But still very powerful. He's got the Elspeth, got Obsidots, and a lot of removal. Doesn't play Sign in Blood, though.
Going to attack for 2. Will Boswell plays his Temple Garden untapped. Going to go down 18 and play Locks on Smiter. So Friedman's already underneath the gun. He's got to start firing us some removal spells to get out of this situation. Ben did draw a copy of Thoughtseize for the turn. Here's 3 mana. That is a Hero's Downfall. There goes the Smiter. Of course, has to do that on the main phase to take care of the Voice trigger. So Boswell will play Najami. It's time to pump up the jam on the Voice. It'll become a 3/3 and into the red zone we go. The big question now is, does Boswell have a 4th land? And the answer is no.
He has multiple Advent of the Worms, but no mana to cast them. And Friedman has a lot of Thoughtseizes in his hand, it looks like.
Ben also has a 4th land in a Plains and a Desecration Demon.
Yeah, that card's really obnoxious. It does look like Boswell has an answer in Banishing Light. That's another card that's really given this deck kind of a boost. Before, you really had no answers to cards like Master of the Waves. Banishing Light helps there. Also is a way to deal with Desecration Demon, along with Celestia Charm, which you also have.
And it will take care of the Desecration Demon. Johnny's going to take up, make Voice of Resurgence into a 4/4. Into the red zone we go yet again. Friedman down to 11. Tough thing here for Friedman. He does have a Devour Flesh in his hand that he can cast to take care of that Voice of Resurgence now. He also has 2 copies of Thoughtseize. Not sure if he wants to actually fire off a Thoughtseize yet, but he will. So we're going to find out exactly what Boswell does have in his hand.
Yeah, and you mentioned that he can do it main phase, and it's kind of awkward because typically you want to cast on your opponent's turn, but unfortunately if he does that, the Voice token would come into play. So even though he has to do it in his turn, Boswell will still get a creature, and he's able to attack next turn with it. And with an Ajani, it can be pretty threatening. So Boswell's looking pretty good right now, despite the fact not having a 4th mana, or really attacking with only 1 creature for multiple turns here.
2 copies of Advent of the Worm, a Soldier of the Pantheon, and a Boon Satyr is what Ben Friedman is currently looking at.
Yeah, I wonder what you take here if you're Ben. I'd imagine Boon Satyr seems really scary, although, yeah, Boon Satyr seems really scary, although Advent of the Worm, if you think he's going to get the 4 mana, I don't know. I think the pick might be Boon Satyr.
Boon Satyr's...
He does have another Thoughtseize.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, he can just take the 2 Advents, but then he goes down to 7. And then I think he just leaves himself dead if he does that, so... I don't know.
Yeah, there's still an Ajani in play.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually a really tough decision. Okay, so he's going to go with the Boon Satyr, but I don't think he can fire off that other Thoughtseize. Here's a Swamp. Maybe a Devour Flip. Is he going to fire off this other Thoughtseize? All right, yeah, so he's going to go down to 7. Grip's still on the table. You see double Advent and the Soldier of the Pantheon.
He just got a land Underworld Connection and Devour Flesh in his hand here, so looks like he's going to take the Soldier and try to dodge some lands here from Boswell.
And what I think Ben has to do now is he actually just has to cast Devour Flesh on his own turn, take care of the Voice. The Voice will die, the Elemental token will come in, but it's just a 1-power creature. You know, then Ajani, will pump it, presumably, attack for 2, and then Ben needs to try to stabilize from there, and hope Boswell doesn't draw land for Advent of the Worm.
That's the key thing.
And hope that whatever he draws doesn't help for like a couple of turns.
And there's a land. So suddenly you're going to get an Advent token, you're going to 5/5, Elemental becomes bigger, plus you put a counter on the Elemental, so all of a sudden you're attacking for 3 and threatening lethal next turn just because drawing a land there.
That's pretty much all it took.
It was a gamble.
You know, that land needed to basically be like Temple of Plenty.
Yeah.
That turn, I think that might be the worst draw on Boswell's deck. But Andrew did find a land that comes into play untapped, does cast the Advent, and gets the job done. The Boz up a game here over Ben Friedman, green-white aggro, up a game over black-white mid-range. We'll take a look at Ben's sideboard first, which you have in front of you.
So he's got 2 copies of Duress, 2 copies of Sin Collector. I think all 4 of those cards are coming in. Typically, you see them coming against control decks, but given that you're facing cards like Advent of the Worm, and plus Boswell could easily have more spells after board, like God's Willing. I think I could see those 4 cards coming in. He's got 2 copies of Liliana Vest, which probably not really ideal in this matchup, considering you're playing against Loxodon Smiters. Another copy of Underworld Connections and a Deicide, which I don't think come in. A Banishing Light, 2 Bioblights, 3 Doomblades, and 1 Whip of Erebos. It's interesting here. I don't think Bioblight's that good in this matchup. He does have to face some early creatures, but there are times where it can be not very effective. Doomblade for sure is coming in. Banishing Light I kind of like as well, because you saw in a Johnny, you don't have a lot of weight. You want more ways to kind of deal with Planeswalkers. You don't know if he's going to bring in more Planeswalkers. So I definitely like the Doomblade, definitely like the Banishing Light, and I kind of like the Duress Sin Collector, because when I was on the green-white side, those are cards that could be kind of annoying, especially if you take my Advent of the Worm. So I would say those 8 cards probably, and then whether or not he thinks Bioblight could be useful, but I'm not sure I would love it in this matchup.
Boswell's side, he got 2 God's Willing, the 4th Advent of the Worm, Mistcutter Hydra, 4 Skylasher, 2 Ajani Steadfast, 2 Archangel of Thune, 2 Hunt the Hunter, and then 1 Contestant Tactics. I love the 4th Advent of the Worm. I like the 2 God's Willings. I think those are the easiest places to start. Mistcutter Hydra is actually okay in this matchup. If you speak with Andrew Shroud, as we do on occasion, when he was actually playing green-white at the beginning of the year, when he was still playing in tournaments, he actually had main deck Mistcutter Hydras in this deck, and he would actually leave them in against Black Devotion decks. Basically, a card that allows you to be a little flexible, hedge against flooding as well. Just being a big threat that has haste is actually pretty good in this matchup. Skylashers, whatever. Don't expect to see that come in, nor do I expect to see Archangel, Hunt the Hunter, or Contestant Tactics. Maybe Tactics comes in and maybe try to stop a Pack Rat draw. And then the 2 copies of Ajani Steadfast, I don't really know when those come in from Boswell's sideboard. I guess, because they do provide lifelink, red decks.
I was talking to him. He basically said he felt like they were an upgrade to the Armadillo Cloak. Unflinching Courage.
Yeah.
So he felt like it was a slight upgrade to that card. And he also felt like that in combination with Skylasher is one of the ways that he can beat Mono Blue as well.
Okay.
So he said he wasn't in love with the Johnny, because that was one card that I was interested in asking him about. He said he didn't love the card, but he felt like it was maybe a slight upgrade against Unflinching Courage.
Okay.
So that's basically it's for mono red decks and mono blue, basically.
I can dig it. This is the only player that we've seen so far playing Ajani Steadfast, and it's only in Boswell's sideboard. That Planeswalker, I mean, we talk about Nissa. Nissa's pretty clear. I think after watching it play for just a little bit today, that card's good. I think there's really nothing else to say. That card's just a good card. Ajani Steadfast is a little bit harder to judge. What kind of deck does it go in?
Yeah.
Is the +1 good? Is the minus good? It's a really, really hard card to judge. We haven't seen anything like it before.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously you're going to compare it to the other Johnnies. Even in this deck, I don't think it's as good as a Johnny Call of Pride. And I don't think it's as good as a Johnny Mentor of Heroes either. So it's just a weird situation for that Johnny, because you don't really want that in a really hyper aggressive deck, I don't think, because a Johnny Call of Pride is probably better. And then in a mid-range deck, Mentor of Heroes is probably better. So it's sort of a similar situation with the new Jace as well. It's like, is it really better than what you have today? I don't know. And do you really want to play multiple Planeswalkers with the same name when one of them is clearly not as powerful? And even not as situational, there's a difference between Jace Architect Thought and Jace Memory Adept. There are times where you really want a Memory Adept. I don't know if there's times where you really, really want a Johnny Steadfast.
I'm gonna find out. It's definitely an interesting card. Provides a unique effect. I do wonder, if Boswell has gotten to use this, kind of incorporate that plan. Skylasher plus that against Mono Blue, or it against Mono Red, it being better than Unflinching Courage.
Yeah, he said he liked the fact that an Unflinching Courage on Skylasher is obviously good against Mono Blue, but he liked the fact that Johnny did basically the same thing, except it gave it vigilance, so you could still block.
Yeah. Friedman going to be on the play here for game number 2. You see the Pack Rat in his hand, a couple of lands over there as well. Temple of Silence, a Caves of Kolios. Maybe he'll keep, maybe he won't. Boswell, you can see in Experiment 1. The big tricky thing here with the green-white aggro deck, it always has been, the mana's really bad. As long as he's got green and white mana, he's okay. The Temple Garden's probably, the best card in the deck.
Yeah, Temple Garden's awesome. Obviously, Mana Confluence helped as well, so.
Friedman going to start with a Temple of Silence, going to consult the hand during the scry. And this top card, he is giving a long pause. Looks like he's going to leave it on top before passing the turn back over to Boswell. Boswell will draw a card. It's a Temple Guard. He'll go down to 18 to deploy that Experiment 1, and we are underway here in game number 2. Friedman picks up a copy of Thoughtseize. There's a Swamp. This is a Pack Rat. Pass the turn back, put Boswell to the test immediately.
So does he have a Voice of Resurgence? That would be huge here. But it looks like he has a second copy of Experiment 1.
Soldier would be huge.
Soldier.
Yeah. This is a really good start.
So you know how I said banish? You know how I said BioBlade wasn't very good? Well, in this,
You think maybe you'd want it
right
now?
here, it would be okay.
Yeah, maybe you'd want it. So just, you know, 3 2-power creatures by turn 2, putting Friedman right under the gun. Now, Pack Rat does some really nice work here, but if Boswell has a way to evolve those Experiment 1s again, Friedman may never be able to catch up.
Yeah, Pack Rat is pretty good, but Boswell has a pretty good board position right here. So Thoughtseize is going to help. He's basically going to be able to see, can he stop something from coming into play?
There's an Ajani, there's an Advent of the Worm, there's a Forest, and I believe the last card, I believe it's the Banishing Light. It may be a Temple Guard. Don't have a great look at it.
Yeah, so Ben's not going to be able to activate Pack Rat this turn. So if it is a Banishing Light, it could potentially take it out, but it looks like it is a Temple Garden. So 2 lands, a Johnny, and Advent of the Worm. Now, what do you take here? If you're Ben, I mean, a Johnny's probably the card that you're most scared of, but looks like he's going to take Advent of the Worm.
I think part of the reason he's taking Advent of the Worm here is because Ajani's going to come down next turn. Ben does have a Doomblade in his hand, so whatever Ajani targets with the +1/+1 counter, presumably is the route that Friedman or that Boswell's going to go. He just Doomblades that creature. Now, does he have to worry about Ajani turns down the road? Absolutely. I think that might be the bigger problem. That might be why maybe he may regret taking the Advent of the Worm. We'll see. Because that Ajani's not going anywhere for it looks like a little while, and Boswell has no interest in even playing Ajani pre-combat, so he sees right through this.
The Boz knows too much.
Yeah,
he knows this deck too well. Yeah, because you have to, and not only that, but you're kind of giving away, if you're not going to activate Rat, you're kind of giving a little bit away in terms of what your plan is, you know?
So 6 damage is going to come across here. Boswell has no interest in running into some sort of very poor trick. Friedman doesn't fire off a Doomblade. Now, of course, this could be where Boswell drew a card like God's Willing for this turn.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Certainly possible.
Looks like he's going to play a Forest. Oh, no, so post-combat Ajani.
Okay. He's going to target this. There's a Doomblade.
All right, so
I like his play a lot.
Yeah, he got the extra damage in.
Yeah, I like his play a lot. Because even if Boswell, like, if Friedman just fires off a Doomblade during the attack, then Boswell's like, okay, fine. I get my damage in post-combat, pump my guy, pass.
Yep.
But this way, he actually just got more damage in. So I actually like that play a lot. Pack Rat going to go active here. Going to discard a Godless Shrine to do so. Friedman, you can see a Banishing Light and a land in his hand.
So he gets a Rat here and probably going to attack a Johnny. So Johnny falls down to 3. He's got a Banishing Light, like you said, and just a land. So not much else. If Boswell can draw an action spell here, he's going to be in a really good shape. And it looks like he does have a God's Willing. So he did draw a God's Willing last turn.
Okay. Up to 4. Experiment 1. Going to become a 3/3. I do wonder if we've seen an attack here, if Friedman has any interest in chump blocking. Or he may just try to trade with the Soldier. He may not, he may not even block at all.
So this is going to be a similar situation that we saw, I think, Boswell win his first round on camera, where he jumps something with a Johnny and has God's Willing to protect it. So next turn could be really good if that Ajani is still in play.
Friedman does have a copy of Banish Light in his hand. So maybe he's just saving that to take care of the Ajani.
Yeah, that means he won't be able to activate Rat, though. And he's got to be a little concerned, given that they're currently only 2/2s. They basically, you can trade with a Soldier, but then you get eaten up by an Experiment 1, and there's a Mutavault in play, too, so.
You're coming this way. Interesting game.
Yeah, so this is actually an ideal situation for Boswell. He's going to lose his Ajani, But if he just activates Mutavaults and attacks with everything, if Ben's plan is to just make a rat and block, he can just cast God's Willing on his Experiment 1, and even if Ben blocks something else, it's still enough,
Yeah,
right?
still lethal. Boswell running through the iterations in his head right now about what can go wrong. He's going to go reaching for some mana here. Maybe some interest in activating a Mutavault.
Basically force the issue, make him make a rat this turn. Yeah, I like this play a lot.
Yeah.
Because you can use God's Willing, so if he's just going to make a rat, you can just protect it. Or either way, yeah, so you're going to go down to 1 there, so you lose your Mutavault. So now he loses, yeah, he loses his attacker, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, so I don't think that Friedman dies this turn.
Yeah.
Maybe a misstep there from Boswell. I mean, it's pretty easy for us to say that when we're working with really good information that Friedman doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
You know, if Andrew thought that Friedman had a removal spell, the game is much different then.
Yeah, so now I think Boswell has to pump his Soldier of the Pantheon and attack with Bull, dropping Ben down to 2, and then play a Fleece main line. Yeah, so he's basically locked. He's going to lose a creature this turn.
Yeah, because he needs to trade with the rat.
Yeah.
He's forced to.
Because I think he has to use the God's Willing to kind of force get through the rats.
Yeah. So this attack is going to put Friedman down to 2. So the question here is, of course, which one does Pack Rat block? Because if he blocks Experiment 1, Ben's like, okay, I'll regenerate, and that's fine. And that's, now, of course, or excuse me, Boswell will regenerate, and Ben gets to keep his rat.
Yeah.
I think you need to trade with a rat.
Yeah.
I think so.
So I think Ben might be, he might just jump in front of the Experiment 1 to give Boswell the choice, but no, it looks like he's going to put it in front of the Soldier of the Pantheon. And now Boswell might be thinking about using God's Willing here and playing a Fleece main line, but the problem there is that if Ben just untaps and makes a rat, or God forbid he draws a Mutavault, suddenly that plant, you still need something to bust through. And Johnny's not quite big enough to jump something yet.
He's organizing the
Johnny
mana
is
here.
the -3, I believe.
There's God's Willing on the Soldier. So going to get pro black. So he's going to win the fight here. Take a look at the top card. That stayed real fast.
He kept it, so. Yeah,
Here's
so
a Fleece main line. That land's going to immediately tap to pass the turn back. Friedman going to quickly untap. He'll take a draw. Looks like just another land to go on with the Banishing Light.
yeah, so he could actually cast Banishing Light here, targeting Experiment 1 or Fleece main line. But then he's only got 2 2/2s in play, so yeah, really tough spot for him. And he's still got that Johnny to deal with.
It does make you wonder, right? Was he supposed to take the Johnny or Advent of the Worm with the Thoughtseize?
Yeah,
That Johnny's a huge pain. Look how much time he's had to take dedicating to attacking him.
yeah.
You know? There goes a Johnny finally. Boswell said, all right, you know, he did pretty good. Boswell can untap very quickly, take a draw. Everybody's going to come into the red zone. That is going to do it. Ben Friedman is going to concede the game.
The Boz.
The Boz does defeat Ben Friedman in the sleeveless mirror. Green-white aggro beating black-white mid-range. Moving on to the top 8.
Wow, so 2 rounds in a row, black-white mid-range falls to aggressive decks. First one, Mono Blue Devotion, now green-white aggro. And I got to say,